So I traveled to Canada some time ago and I posted this video on TikTok, and the video just did a lot of numbers. I won't say it blew up, but it actually did a lot of numbers, and I got so many questions from so many different people asking me how I did this, how I did that. So in this video I'll be answering all the questions as well as telling you step by step how I was able to travel to Canada along with.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess
Hello, my name is Tinola Abdul. If this is your first time here, don't make it your last. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so that it will reach other people that might find this video helpful. So the first question is in two forms. It says, what route did you go through and what route can newly wedded couple use to relocate? So I came to Canada on a student's visa, and as a student, your husband or your spouse can apply with you. It depends on you and your spouse. You can apply for open work permit. You can apply for a visitor's visa. You can apply for anyone you feel like works for you. So I came on a student's visa. Now the next question says, did you get married legally before you applied for your visa? Yes, we did. Even before we applied for the visa, we were already married and we applied as a married couple. And everything we did was together. So we applied together. There was a principal applicant and then there was a dependent applicant, basically. Did you file the application by yourself or did you use an agent? I actually used an agent. A bunch of people asked me this on TikTok and I think on Instagram, and I was able to actually give them the handle of my agent. I used 1505 Travels on Instagram. I'll put their handle on the screen if you want to check them out. It's a travel company that really helped me, and they basically did everything for me. They explained everything I needed to do. Even as they were applying for me, they were carrying me along, so I knew exactly how the process was going, and it was a very smooth partnership. Now the next question was what certificate did you use to apply? So since I said I'm on a student visa, so this person is asking me how I applied for admission. Now, I used all my academic credentials. Obviously, I have a bachelor of pharmacy. So I used my bachelor's degree. I used my YX because they will also ask for O levels because they want to know if you actually have like a good English proficiency. So it depends on the institution you're actually applying to be honest. Some institutions actually require English proficiency examinations like IELTS. For some, your YX or your O levels is actually sufficient. So far, you had a very good credits, so let me say credits and above in English language. I applied for a pharmaceutical course. They wanted to see that I actually had a background in science subjects, and they wanted to see that I actually studied something similar in my undergraduate degree. Because I studied Bachelor of Pharmacy, it was kind of easy for me to apply for a pharmaceutical course in Canada. So I used my O level, my certificate, my transcript. Of course, you cannot apply to an international school without your transcript. I also use my CV. This might not apply for every school, but my school wanted to see that I had work experience, and they wanted to see, okay, the gap between my undergraduate degree and this particular degree I'm applying for. Why was there a gap? And yeah, so that's basically what I used to apply for my admission. The next question says, how many days did it take for you to get an offer letter from your school? Again, this depends on the school. For the school I applied to, I would say it was roughly a month. After you apply for admission, you get your admission letter, and this admission letter is like a conditional acceptance. So, in order for you to get like the actual offer letter or acceptance letter, they will tell you the criteria and the things that you need to fulfill. Initially, when I was applying for my admission, obviously I paid an application fee. Again, not every school actually collects an application fee, but I paid an application fee of about $500, I think. And then when I got the admission or the conditional acceptance, the criteria for me to actually get like the acceptance letter or the offer letter, which I would use to apply for the study permits, was for me to pay 25% of my tuition fee. And so that was the condition. And so I did that. And after I did that, I'll say roughly a month later, I was able to get my acceptance letter. Next question says, did you pay for your full tuition before you got your visa? Now the answer is no. Like I said earlier, The only thing I paid was the initial admission application fee, and then the 25% before I got my acceptance letter. After I got my acceptance letter, that was all I needed to apply for my study permit. I didn't need to pay full tuition, although, like I said, it varies with schools. Some schools might require you to actually pay like a full semester. Some schools might require you to just pay like the application fee and then you're good to go. So it depends on the school. So if you're trying to apply for a study permit, I would say that you should do your research and see what school, especially for the school you're going to, make sure you actually know their criteria and know what they need. But once you get your acceptance letter, that's all you need to apply. You don't need to pay for the full tuition before you're able to get your visa, but you can if you want to. Now, the next question says, did you and your husband show proof of funds, or just you? Or just you, or just your husband, basically. Now, for those that don't know, obviously it's not only the application, the acceptance letter that you need to apply for the study permit. You also need to tender proof of funds, and you also need to tender your statement of purpose. So I did all this: my acceptance letter, my statement of purpose, and my proof of funds. And for the proof of funds, since we're applying as a legally married couple, all we needed to show was my husband's proof of funds. So my husband was able to prove that he's able to cater for me and is able to cater for himself all through our stay in Canada. That's basically what proof of funds is. So I didn't need to show my proof of funds. My husband's proof of funds was sufficient for us. And for proof of funds, initially it was, I can't remember what it was when we traveled, but as at I think January, there's another. I think it has the proof of funds that you have to tender as doubled to about 20,000 or so. I'll put it on the screen, and you can also go ahead and do your research. How much did the entire process cost for you and your husband? I would need to look at my notes for this so I don't forget anything. This is a breakdown of everything we spent money for. So basically, the first one I paid for, like I mentioned, was the application fee, which was about $500. Then I also paid 25% of my tuition, and then the next thing I paid for was medicals. Obviously, for the medicals, you also pay some amount of money, and then when you gather your documents and you want to submit your visa application, everything together, you pay visa application fees, and you also pay biometric fees. Now, all this excluding proof of fund was approximately, I had to contact my husband for this and my agent because there were a lot of things I actually didn't remember. But everything approximately was about 2.5 million naira. If you're in a different country, you can convert the naira to your currency equivalent. So I spent about 2.5 million naira. And for my Nigerians watching, we know that 2.5 million naira last year is definitely not 2.5 million naira this year. But as at last year, ending of last year, 2023, I spent approximately 2.5 million naira for the entire application process. This is excluding proof of funds, this is excluding flight ticket fees, this is excluding every other thing, just for the application process itself. Now, the next question is, how long did the visa approval process take? The entire process till I got my visa approval was actually, believe it or not, within 3 weeks to 1 month. I think it was less than 1 month, 3 weeks or so. I applied for my visa in May, and my approval came in June. I know it sounds very hard to believe, but I think we applied during a period where the visa processes was actually fast, because I had a lot of friends during that period that also got their visas fast. We're just lucky. It was pretty fast. The next question says, after visa approval, what's the next procedure? After visa approval, the next thing for you to do is to apply to submit your passport. The same place where you did your biometrics, you apply to submit your passport. You submit your passport for stamping, and they will inform you when you should come and collect your passports. That's basically it. Did you and Obi move together? Yes. We traveled together. Myself and my husband traveled this together, same day, everything. We did it together from the beginning to the end. And so yes, we traveled together. We got our visa in June, and then we traveled in August. Yeah, it was a very fast process. We flew together, everything, we did it together. The next question says, what is the stress level traveling with your husband? Like, how stressful was the journey? Well, for me, the journey itself wasn't stressful. It was actually a pretty smooth journey. Thankfully, thank God for that. God was really good. So it was a smooth journey. The stressful part was packing. and preparing to travel. It was really, really stressful figuring out, okay, what should I leave behind? What should I take with me? What do I need to buy additionally? Obviously, Canada is a very, very cold country, so you also have to take that into consideration. And I would say this, that buying winter clothes in Nigeria or your country before coming to Canada is not a good idea, because the kind of winter clothes that they make over there, I don't feel like it's actually conducive for a country like Canada, especially if you're traveling during the winter. Luckily for us, we traveled in August, which was still during the summer, so we're not so particular about getting winter clothes. We just felt, okay, when we travel, when we get to Canada, we'll figure out how to get winter clothes and all that. So I can't tell you the amount of TikTok videos, YouTube videos that I had to watch just to know what and what to pack. Some people tell you leave clothes, pack food. Some will say pack food, leave clothes. At the end of the day, it was just a very confusing thing. But thankfully, I was able to just do what was best for me. We actually didn't pack food. So thankfully, food was not something that I had to worry about. So I actually have a video where I took you through everything I packed, everything I prepared from when I got my visa to traveling. And if you want to check that out, click on this link, or you click on the link in my description box below. Now, this person asked, when you get to the airport with all your luggage, are you offered a cart or a carriage to put all your luggage and your belongings? I'm not sure which particular airport this person is referring to, so I'm just going to talk about my experience both in Nigeria and when I arrived in Canada. So in Nigeria, when you get to the airport, we use the Muritala Mohammed Airport. So when you get to the airport, nobody's going to hand you any cart or any carriage. No, you fend for yourself, obviously. But when you get to the entrance, or let me speak for myself, when I say when we got to the entrance of the airport, before getting to the departure gates and all that, we saw like a bunch of carts. Like we saw some people scrambling for cars. There were just a bunch of cars on the road, and we were asked to pay about 1,000 naira each, like 1,000 naira per cart, to be able to like take your luggage from your car into the airport. So there are carts there, and you have to pay 1K per cart. I don't know if it's the same now. They might have increased it. I don't know. On getting to Canada, we also saw carts when it was time to like enter the country from the airport to the country, taking our luggage. Yeah, there were carts there, and those ones were free. Nobody asked us to pay any money. You basically do everything yourself. But on getting to Toronto Pearson Airport, the carts were actually free. How many hours was the trip? Okay, the trip in total took 16 hours, but we had a 7-hour layover in London, from Nigeria to London, then a layover of 7 hours, then from London to Toronto Pearson. Everything in total, excluding the layover, took about 16 hours. Plus the layover, it took us about 23 hours. So basically a day. But excluding the layover, the trip itself is a 16-hour journey. It's a 16-hour journey from Nigeria to Canada, basically. And that's the longest I've ever traveled for. I pretty much enjoyed the flight. Like, it was a good one. And the layover in London, I got to see the Heathrow airport for the first time, and that was actually a really, really cool experience, because the airport is so massive, like so massive, so clean. There were so many people. Same for the Toronto airport, and everything was just so orderly, and yeah, it was nice. How many luggage were you able to carry? So for me, I actually was able to carry 3 boxes. So that's 3 boxes. And then I was able to carry a traveling bag, and I was able to carry a handbag. Yeah, I think that was it. And it was basically the same thing for my husband: 3 boxes, a traveling bag, and a handbag. And I think he had his laptop bag. But that's not the norm, actually. The norm for traveling on any airplane should be like each luggage shouldn't exceed 23 kg. And then you're able to carry like 2 boxes and a hand luggage. For us, we're able to carry 3 boxes because we flew business class, so we were allowed to carry more than 2 luggage, which was really cool, because traveling somewhere so far away, I wanted to be able to carry as much as I could. I knew I couldn't carry everything, but I wanted to be able to carry as much as I possibly could. If you're not flying business class or first class or whatever, the usual that you're able to carry is 2 luggage and 1 hand luggage, and each of them must not exceed 23 kg. They are going to wait at the airport, and if you exceed, you have to just reduce it one way or the other. So when we had finished packing the morning we were traveling, my mom actually bought like a measuring scale so that we were able to measure our luggage. We did not want any issues at the airport at all. So we measured our luggage even before we left for the airport. So if you're planning on traveling and you're not sure if your luggage is too heavy or too big, because there's a tendency for it to be big because you're packing a lot, especially if you're packing food. So just make sure you try and measure it before you get to the airport to avoid any hassle. So the next question is, will the school provide accommodation on arrival? In my notes when I wrote this question, the answer I put was they play. I said they play because I don't know of other. I can't speak for every school, but I do not think there's actually any school that will just provide accommodation for you for free. Is it that probably you during the application process you already applied for accommodation and you were able to get it or something? But there's no school that would just like give you accommodation upon arrival. You have to fend for yourself. Upon our own arrival, we hadn't gotten accommodation yet because getting accommodation here is another ball game. And if you guys want to see a video on how we're able to like get accommodation or how accommodation getting accommodation in Canada is, just write it in the comment section and I'll definitely do another video. But we didn't get accommodation, and accommodation was just another entirely crazy thing. So before getting like upon getting, obviously you have to have somewhere to stay when you get to Canada. So we're able to book an Airbnb before we arrived. And so that was where we arrived to. Getting an Airbnb can be quite pricey, but I believe it's actually more economical than booking a hotel. So it's either you book a hotel or you get an Airbnb, or you have someone you can stay with until you get an accommodation. So any of those factors can actually be good. And at the same time, some people are able to get accommodation before traveling, but I do not really recommend that, especially if you're traveling with a spouse. If you're traveling alone and you feel like you don't mind like a room sharing or whatever, I feel like you can just go to some places like Facebook Marketplace and get a shared accommodation even before traveling. So once you travel, you just arrive in the accommodation. But as a couple, it's better to do your due diligence. So booking an Airbnb or a hotel is your best bet. So this bonus question I was asked is, for example, you're an international student and your school is supposed to resume in April. Can you travel ending of February or beginning of March? You're allowed to travel at least a month or two before you resume. So traveling, if you're resuming April, traveling February or March is not a bad idea. My school was to resume in September and I traveled beginning of August. So that time between when I arrived and when my school resumed, it was able to give me some time to like do some basic things like getting my new account, like getting my SIN. Like you should have time to like settle in before you resume. I have some vlogs up where I like documented my first day in Canada, my first week in Canada, doing my SIN, opening bank accounts and all that. If you want to see those videos, you can just check out the videos on my channel. I'll also put the link in the description box so you can check them out. I feel like I was able to answer all the questions I could. If you found this video helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe before you go. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section and I'll make sure I respond. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.